Hey everyone. So I have been laid off yet again in the industry. It is very frustrating, I know. And it definitely makes you wonder how long or how much, you really want to tolerate sometimes or continue. Some of us have just got into the industry. Some of us have been doing it for 5 years. Some of us, like me, have been doing it for over 25 years. And layoffs have become very natural. It's not liked, it's not well received. It's just the nature of things. So, I guess what I wanted to do was create a video and talk over some of the things to consider. I know some of you are probably stressed out. It can be very stressful. And I know some of you may be freaking out. And some of you may be at peace. So hopefully these little tips will help you out. Okay. All right. So I guess the first one is finding peace with the layoff. I know it sounds weird, but I think it's like 62% of tech companies now use AI, to decide their budget and cut departments and stuff like that. So it's at a point now where it's not personal. It's not against you, who you are as a human being, your work performance, or anything like that. To them, to the big companies, you're just a number, okay? And I know that might be hard to accept. I came from an environment where I worked hard and I expected, a certain degree of recognition for my hard work. And your lead or your manager, they may agree, they love the work that you do. But unfortunately, it's not them that are making the decisions. I know it sounds like a shitty thing to say, but somebody higher up is making those calls. Now in the end, they might be able to buy you, a week or two, but yeah, they're probably getting pressured by themselves, to make changes and do cuts and stuff like that. So yeah. So the next one I want to touch about is networking. Um, when I recently got let go, I made myself open available on LinkedIn. And I kid you not, I got bombarded by AI spam bots, uh, you know, scammers and stuff like that. I literally got a connection invite from three separate accounts, all named Sabrina Becker, you know, and I knew that she was an AI bot. I knew she was fake because one, she didn't have a background. Two, she had zero connections. Okay. And sure, the AI kicked out a list of jobs, and one of them was, of course, the one that I had been working on. But I mean, it was, I was able to spot it. 85% of jobs are still through networking, but it's in, and nowadays in 2026, it's failing because of AI bot spam. I mean, I've spent decades, you know, doing resumes and sending them out and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. It just seems like AI could just generate a bunch of, crap and just send it out and get you in a loop. And if you're not aware and those, and you rely on those bots and that they're doing is just gathering information, it's just going to hit on an already fragile mental state, and it's going to make you feel discouraged. So I would focus on human connection, individuals who you've met, connect with them on LinkedIn. Those are the individuals, if they're still working, might be able to put in a good word for you, or at least be there, to comfort you through the hard times, because I won't lie, it's going to be hard. Okay. It's going to be difficult. Um, yeah. So I would say just be mindful, of LinkedIn. You know, it, it's not all it's cracked up to be. So, yeah. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was coming to the realization that some of our initial attempts to get into tech may not be viable anymore. I was watching a video, I think it was Diaries. Oh, so I can't think of the name, but it was a good video, and they were talking to an AI expert, and they had asked him in sort of the grand scheme of things of what's going on with AI, what should somebody who's been affected, look for? What are some of the things that AI or robots are not going to be able to do? And one of the interesting things he had mentioned was a plumber. Now, I know some of you may not necessarily want to be a plumber, but it definitely opened up the options of blue collar work. In my experience, some blue collar work is probably not going to pay as much as tech. But if I'm being honest with you right now, I don't even think tech is going to be paying what tech used to pay. They're no longer going to be paying six figures for very long. If they do offer six figures, then you're going to have to be this, I'm not going to say unicorn, but you're definitely going to have to be multi-talented. You are going to have to be able to do the work of three individuals, okay? Because that's what they're going to ask for. All right, and you gotta look at that and honestly ask yourself if that's something you really want to try and put yourself through. Okay, I've talked to engineers. Oh my God, I mean, just engineering alone, especially during crunch, it's crushing. And now you want to get into an environment where they don't want you to just engineer, but they want you to do everything else. They want you to do the work of 3 or 4 individuals at the same amount of pay. I mean, that's something you got to really come clean with yourself and wonder if that's something that you really want to do. I will say this, skills in trades and, infrastructure, roles, they're growing, electricians, telecom techs, I don't know, renewable energy, bus drivers. I mean, the state, they're always looking for individuals. I mean, these projects, or these groups, I mean, they've shown, I don't know, I think last I was checking, like a 6 to 9% growth. I mean, that's pretty good, So what you want to do then in that is look at your existing skills that you've had in the tech industry and see where that transfers over. Maybe you were a producer or like myself, a project coordinator, right? And handling databases and crunching numbers and, making sure documentation was up to par and working with teams and, multiple teams, maybe working close with a lead to achieve the goals of things. These are all things that, could transfer over, Think about that, Maybe you can get a job, pushing, documents and papers and stuff like that. And It may not pay as much as what tech was doing, but hey, like, in you know, in an industry out there where they're constantly looking for people to take on roles, looking at what you've learned in the tech industry and figuring out where those skills can be applied, in a blue collar job. I mean, those are going to save you. It's me personally, I've thought about becoming a security guard. You know, I mean, I'm up there in age, Do I really want to stress myself out? Sure, I'll have to work my way up. Maybe I want to be a teller, you know? I mean, there's tons of things that I can get myself into, and there's tons of jobs that I can look at, I think. And these are jobs where you can use AI to help out. Like, give your favorite AI bot your resume and say, hey, scour the internet for jobs where these could be transferred over and see what it spits out. Maybe it'll help you out. So I guess the other thing I wanted to ask, and it kind of ties in, is what if the internet went down for a month? Would your skills be worth, something to my neighbor? I don't know. That's something to consider. One of the things I'm looking at over here is 42% of tech workers are currently pursuing tangible side skills, woodworking, mechanics, electrical. So as a hedge against AI. That's something to consider, time to do a utility audit on your life, I guess. If your only skill is moving pixels, you're valuable, but I mean, can you translate that, your technical logic, into the physical world? I don't know. Now, if you can, that's great. Robotic maintenance, smart grid installation, or even high-end craft. I mean, then you gain that level of autonomy that no tech layoff could take away. You build a robot, those are things to look at. Definitely things to take in consideration. I guess in the end, what we want to do is we want to find those hidden values, inside. Your tech skills are actual systems like skills, blue collar environment like a smart factory or an automated warehouse. They'll always need someone to understand the logic, and even if it is, never turned a wrench, I mean, these things can be trained. Some people don't mind, helping people out. Yeah, I mean, some of the notes that I'm taking here, 81% of, they're referring to them as new collar employees, high skill trades. They have value, digital latency and troubleshooting. There are things as they become more automatic, I guess you could say. The more things that become more, digital and, technically advanced. Somebody who's been in the tech industry, who understands, the functionality of software and stuff like this that integrates into, warehouse or something like that. I mean, these are skills that, somebody can always use. And then I guess in the end, amongst all of this, it's being happy, finding purpose. Because in the end, isn't all we really want to do is find purpose, something to make a little bit of coin at the end of the month, pay rent, pay bills, and then have a little bit of money on the side to be happy. I mean, that's what I want. I don't want to, making millions would be nice, but if I can just pay my bills, and save a little bit of extra money and just relax, and just enjoy life, not stress out. I think that's what I want. And I wish that upon you. I wish that you find peace and you find happiness and you find something that gives you purpose. Well, I know one of the things that I'm doing that finds purpose is staying on YouTube, creating videos, talking to people like you, sharing what I like. Star Wars, video games, art. Yeah. Last I checked, my channel was at 411. If I can get to 500, I could put my TeePublic store up there. And maybe make a little extra cash on the side, you know, doing stickers and t-shirts and stuff like that for you. So if that's something that you like, well, come on over, hit the subscribe button, like the video. Let me know what you think. I hope it didn't offend a lot of you, but in the end, if you made it this far, thank you. And with that, I wish you all the best. This is Marvin signing out. See you later.